Okay, now we are just waiting till Facebook streams us over. And we are live. Welcome everybody to Mighty Mystery Monday Celebrity Edition. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here tonight with none other than Queen Hank Phillippi Ryan, author of most recently, The First to Lie. So I'm sure she needs no introduction, but I need to scream her incredible praise from the roof. Hank Phillippi Ryan is a US Today best-selling author of 12 mystery novels. Hank has also won multiple prestigious awards for her crime fiction, 5 Agathas, 3 Anthonys, the Daphne, 2 Macavitys, and the Mary Higgins Clark Award. She is also the on-air investigative reporter for Boston's WHDH-TV. She's won 37 Emmys, my goodness, 14 Edward R. Murrow Awards, and dozens of other honors for her groundbreaking journalism. National book reviews have called Hank a master at crafting suspenseful mysteries and a superb and gifted storyteller. Hank's novels have been named Best Thrillers of the Year by Library Journal, New York Post, BookBub, Pop Sugar, Real Simple Magazine, and many others. Her 2019 book is the acclaimed standalone psychological thriller, The Murder List, which I read and loved, a nominee for the prestigious Mary Higgins Clark Award, Agatha, Anthony, and Macavity Awards. Amazing. Her newest book comes out tomorrow, August 4th, The First to Lie, a chilling psychological standalone. The Publisher's Weekly Starred Review says, stellar. Hank Phillippi Ryan could win a sixth Agatha with this one. And today, she was a Publisher's Weekly Pick of the Week. Oh my God, Hank, we are so incredibly honored to have you. Welcome to Mighty Blaze.
Thank you. I could just listen to that introduction for a long time. It's very reassuring. I have to tell you, Sarah, it's wonderful. I'm such a fan of yours and such a fan of A Mighty Blaze, and you all have just swooped up all the authors who were just panicking during the pandemic and taken us under your gorgeous wings and helped us blaze our way to at least connecting. So we all just couldn't be more grateful. It's just completely wonderful and so kind of touching, isn't it, actually, when you see the growth of this community and how we're all sort of hanging together to help each other. It's just quite inspirational. So thank you. And I love your introduction. You know, there are days in writing after all these years, there are days when I think, this is the time it isn't going to work. This is terrible, and nobody's ever going to want to read this, and why did I ever think I could write a book? And I'm just going to have to say I can't do this anymore, and I don't have any more ideas, and I never will. And so I remember in writing The First to Lie that there were days that I honestly said to my husband, I don't think I can do this. I have no idea what's going to happen. This will never work. And the idea that now there's a Publisher's Weekly Starred Review, which called it stellar. And now it's the Publisher's Weekly Pick of the Week and Pop Sugar's #1 pick. I mean, for authors and for writers, this is the thing that we need to remember, that we all have these days where we think, I just can't do this. This is not going to work. And then you throw the pandemic in on top of that. And it's all about just, sometimes I say to myself, yep, you're terrible. Just write one more terrible sentence, and then just write one more terrible sentence, and it'll be fine. It'll be terrible, but then you'll have 2 sentences and you can fix them. So we're all, this is like climbing up a wall every time. So when I get to the pinnacle, like what today feels like, I look back in those times and think, okay, let's just keep doing this. So this is another part of the wonderful journey. So thank you.
Oh, Hank, first of all, thank you. I'm so incredibly humbled and honored that you, Queen of the Mystery Realm, winner of 37 Emmys and all of those other incredible awards. I mean, such high praise, and thank you so, so very much. Also, I just want to say how incredibly surprising and also reassuring it is to know that no matter how far down the path of success you are, that you still have those days. Because I wondered, obviously, what that if you would. And so it's so interesting to me. We're getting a lot of thumbs up and a lot of love from Facebook. I just want to welcome everybody from Facebook. So this is your time to speak with Queen Hank. This is a very interactive interview. This is a very interactive time. So as you know, here at A Mighty Blaze, we're all about connection. We're all about connecting our authors and our readers and our community of writers. So if you have questions for Hank about anything, just type them right in the chat box. I am monitoring it here on my second screen. I'll get it right over to you. We have a ton of people saying hi. Anissa, Carol, Jamie, Susie Q, Lecha, Catherine, Judy, welcome. Andrea, oh my gosh, so many, Catherine, so many wonderful people here. So let us know what your questions are. And as you're thinking of them, Hank, I just have to share a few of your absolutely incredible blurbs that you've gotten so far for this book. I'm a long-time fan of your work and have read all of your books. And reading these blurbs is making me so excited to read The First to Lie. JT Ellison says, intricate, complex, and devilishly clever. Ooh, I can't wait. It's like reading a burning stick of dynamite. Wow. Once the fuse is lit, you will not be able to look away until the explosive end. Hank Phillippi, Ryan is the queen, the modern queen of the cat and mouse tale. And this is another brilliant work from this master storyteller that will keep you guessing right up to the last page. Wow. So many amazing reviews and words of praise. Samantha Downing says, The First to Lie is a twisty, winding road of deception and secrets that start with a bang and ends with an explosion. Put this one on your list because Ryan is the top of her game. I could go on, and perhaps I will.
I think I like it. This is great. This is much easier than talking. And I love your dramatic reading. It's really entertaining. I'm having a crazy pre-launch day. So
tell us about your pre-launch day.
To be here with, and I want you to know, people who are on Facebook leaving comments and saying hi. I can't see those right now. I'll come back and see them when the interview is over, but I don't know you're there, and I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you're saying. I'd respond to you if I did, but I can't. The way this is all technically set up, I can't see that. Only the fabulous Sara can see it for right now, but I'll be able to see it later, I hope, and I'll come back and chat with you personally on Facebook on A Mighty Blaze.
Well, we're already getting some questions for you.
Okay.
Leisha would like to know, what inspired you to write The First to Lie, and where do you get your character names for your book characters? Great questions, Leisha. Hank, tell us.
Quickly, so there's, where did I get the idea for The First to Lie, and what about character names?
Yes.
Character names, we can talk about that briefly, is either the most difficult thing that you could possibly imagine in the entire world or the easiest. Sometimes character names, like Ellie Berenson, one of the main characters of The First to Lie, her name just came like that. There's another character, Brooke Vanderwald. You can imagine what kind of a character Brooke Vanderwald is compared to Ellie Berenson. Very different people. And I knew those people, and I knew their names. There's also a character in the book, though, called Meg Weist, and I could not for the life of me come up with her name. Misha, sometimes the character just appears fully formed in the book, and if I can say to you, I am not even thinking about it. It's just I'm typing it out, comes her name or his name. Sometimes it is a slog. It is the biggest slog. Meg Weist, I can't even begin to tell you how many names she had, until there was the one where when I typed that name, she sat up and she said, okay, watch me go. And somehow some muse or some magic, and Sue Grafton used to call it the magic, some magic had infused that character and said to me as the author, this is who this is. So I just go with what the universe tells me. And I know if the name is right. And if the name is wrong, it won't let me write the character. In my book, Trust Me, I had this character named Corinne Brody. And I kept misspelling her name. And I realized that was the universe saying to me, probably not her name, since you can't even spell it. And when I changed her name to Ashlyn Bryant, It's the same thing. The same thing happened. So where did I get the idea for the first to lie? Well, I have been a television reporter for 43 years, and I have wired myself with hidden cameras and gone undercover and in disguise. Wow. And I've only gotten caught once, but it's happened, but I've done it many times. And I wondered about a reporter or anyone, two things about it. One, I wondered about a reporter going undercover who decided that it would be more valuable, more desirable to actually be the person they were pretending to be, to take that life of the person they were pretending to be. Could someone really do that? Trade in their life for someone else? And then I thought about the essence of undercoverness. What does that really mean? Because all of us are undercover every day, depending on who we're talking to. You know, you behave differently in front of your mom than you do your boss or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or somebody that you meet who's new. I mean, we all create these images for ourselves, and we all tell ourselves a story about who we are, depending on the time that we're in it, right? So if that sentence was in English, I'm not sure. But
yeah, it makes sense.
The point of the first to lie is, how far would you go to be someone else if it would get you what you wanted? And would you do that? And so that's what the germ of the first to lie was. That's where it came from. Reporters going undercover, then people going undercover, and then all of us are actually undercover. And one more thing about undercover that the book is about is, one of the characters is a reporter, and I've been a reporter. But you don't know what I'm thinking when you watch my television stories. You don't know how difficult it was. You don't know if I was terrified. You don't know if I wanted to do the story. You don't know the external pressures that are on me for doing the story. You don't know whether I was fearful when I talked to someone, because my personality is undercover. My emotions are undercover in that story because I'm being an objective journalist. But in the first to lie, writer Hank can come out from undercover and reveal via someone else, via a fictional character, what a real reporter thinks undercover that you as the viewer will never know. So it's layer upon layer of undercoverness. And is that a lie, or is that a performance, or is that a decision? You know, what is that we all make? But we're all doing it because we have a goal. And if our goal is good and true and justice, that's good. If our goal is manipulation and deception and gaslight and getting something that belongs to someone else, then that kind of performance is different. And that is all in the first to lie.
Wow. I'm so excited. I mean, this is fascinating, and you're getting a ton of hearts and love from Facebook. This is resonating with everyone who's watching, with our audience.
You know, let me just say that, you know, one of the specific moments that happened undercover to me that does kind of translate into the first to lie, I did go undercover into a doctor's office. There is an element of the first to lie that's about women who go to doctor's offices to get advice and counsel and medication, especially if they want to have a child, and how important having a child is to some women, and how important having a family is to some women, and how pivotal and difficult that sometimes can be. So I went undercover into a doctor's office, posing as a woman who wanted to get pregnant. This was a long time ago. Okay, it was a long time ago, as you can imagine, because nobody would buy it, no matter from me. Right now, I'm 70.
I'd buy it.
They say, come on, sister, you're living in a dream world. But anyway, years ago, I went undercover as a young woman wanting to have a child, and my producer was undercover with me as my husband. And I had a hidden camera, which we call button cam, which was in my shirt, about the size of a shirt button, cleverly. And behind that little lens, the button cam was the lens, was a wire that snaked down through my triple layer of sweatshirt, so I looked much bigger. Down underneath my sweatshirt, and the guts of the camera were in my not terribly cool fanny pack I was wearing. And I was in the doctor's office to try to find out, and let me just tell you briefly, in Massachusetts at that time, the record of doctors when it came to malpractice lawsuits and the outcome of malpractice lawsuits was only public if a potential patient went to court to find out. But if you looked up a doctor's medical record, it wasn't there at the Board of Registration in Medicine. So I had said, as me, to the director of the Board of Registration in Medicine at the time, how is a potential patient supposed to know if a doctor has malpractice cases? And the head of the Board of Registration said, well, they're supposed to tell you. And I remember bursting out laughing, and I said, you think they're going to tell a patient if they have a bad malpractice case history? They never will. And she said, oh, yes, they will. So that's why my producer and I went in undercover. And after this whole consultation, I said, oh, could I just ask you about your record of malpractice cases? And have you had any losses? And I knew he had. I knew this guy had a terrible record. And he looked at me and said, no, I have no malpractice cases, and I've never lost a malpractice case. And that was a lie. That was just a lie. And I have to tell you quickly, so in Massachusetts, you can't record somebody's audio without permission. So of course I didn't have permission to record his audio. So I had to make sure that his no, or his answer, whether it was yes or no, was very clear with just visually. So I said, have you had a lot of malpractice cases that you lost? Yes or no? Yes or no? Thinking he would mimic me, and he did, and he said no. And it was very clear, even without the sounds, that he was saying no. So as a result of that investigation, as a result of that undercover investigation, the rules changed in Massachusetts to require doctors to disclose their malpractice cases and their losses on their permanent records. And I understand that doctors will have malpractice cases. Many do, and they don't always lose, and it doesn't always mean anything. But the essence of my book is about disclosure. About how we as patients, we as women, should have all the facts before we go into a situation that might change our life. And this is a fun, fast-paced, page-turning thriller. This is if you like Ruth Ware and Samantha Downing and Samantha Bailey and Sherry LaPena and Hannah Mary McKinnon and all those wonderful suspense authors. That's what this is. But underneath, I want to give you some knowledge and some empowerment and some power to stand up for yourself and ask for all the facts when you have to make a difficult medical decision. You have the right to make a choice, whatever you want about whatever you want, but you just need to know the truth about it. And you don't want your doctor to be the first to lie.
Wow, Hank, this is amazing. You're getting so many hearts from Facebook. Sharon Carlson Person says, this is amazing. Leisha says, wow, good for you. God bless you for doing that. Catherine says, you are a rock star. Kristen says, I love this sneak peek into Hank's undercover adventures. Kristen, you're speaking for all of us. Absolutely amazing. Was your heart pounding 1,000 miles a minute?
Yes, it always is. Going undercover is constantly terrifying. I have to say, you can never get used to it because, the key of going undercover is that you absolutely have to believe that you are the person with about 99% of your soul. You sort of have to actually believe you are the person you're pretending to be. Again, just like in The First to Lie. And so there's this tiny little, because you have to react like the person you're pretending to be. And you have to have the motivations and goals of the person you're pretending to be, not me, the reporter. So I get 1% of my brain thinking, do I have the shot? Am I asking him the right questions? Am I seeing him say yes or no? Is my video running? Is my camera working? Did I remember to turn it on? Is my producer behaving properly? Does he look right? Do I look right? Should I sit back farther so I can get a wider shot? All those kinds of things. You're taking a picture of the doctor's office like this, so the camera lens will shift. So, so if anybody comes up to you and sort of is going like this in your house, be really careful. So yeah, so you're always afraid, even though it's not illegal. It's not illegal to record someone with a hidden camera if you don't have audio. It's not illegal, but you are doing something that that person would rather not be happening. And if you get caught, as I have once, it's not necessarily going to be pleasant. So yeah, I'm terrified every time. And the key is that I always remember when I freak out a little bit is the person I'm interviewing does not think that I have a hidden camera. They don't, that's just not something that crosses their mind. And so they're not really looking for it. So every time the doctor was looking at my chest where I knew the hidden camera was, I'm like, he's not looking at the camera. He's not looking at the camera. He's just not looking at the camera. So there are the adventures of undercover. And all that goes into the First to Lie, all that. And see, you won't know that when you see that story. You'll just think, that's a good story. She won an Emmy for that story. The law changed in Massachusetts as a result of that story. But you wouldn't know how terrified I was. In the book, you might know that.
Oh, that's so interesting. And I think one of the things that has been very illuminating and eye-opening for me as I've read your books, starting all the way back with Primetime, is to sort of see some of that behind the scenes reporter thinking, where she's wrestling with, worrying about getting the shot, or the battery of her camera dying, or them bringing in another younger, anchor, or there's so many things that I hadn't thought about. And you do such a brilliant job of giving us all of those worries and angst and letting us in so that we can bond with your character, but also learn something about the news world. Tell us about the time you got caught.
I'll tell it very quickly because I know we don't have too much time. And I do want to tell you my 5 top things about the First to Lie. So remind me about that.
I want to hear it.
But I had heard that there was a cult church on Cape Cod that was bilking vulnerable young women out of money and promising them things. And so I went to a sort of a recruitment meeting of this cult church and I didn't have the button cam at the time. I had a more old-fashioned hidden camera, which was like a handy cam, like a tourist cam, we used to call it. Like everybody had a video camcorder when they used to go on vacation. Remember those? Anyway, yes. Vacations. So I had taken an old purse, a shoulder bag, and cut a hole in the side of the purse. And I put the camera running inside the purse and smashed the lens of the camera through the hole in the outside of the purse, and put the bag over my shoulder, and then tied a scarf over the strap of the bag so that the flap of the scarf covered the lens of the camera. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I moved the scarf, the camera was rolling. But when I covered up the lens with the scarf, you couldn't see the lens. So I'd move the scarf to shoot and then put it back over the lens when I was afraid somebody was seeing me. So I was moving and then I was trying to do that. And you could tell how afraid I was by how much video we had when I was finished of just my hand over the lens, terrified. So that showed how, it's how brave you are, how long you can keep that lens open. So I'm shooting and not shooting and shooting and not shooting. And I know and they were passing out lemonade. And I thought, don't drink the lemonade. No, do not drink the lemonade. And I knew that the word was that they were brainwashing people. And I wanted to look vulnerable enough to be brainwashed, but not too vulnerable, because I mean, how do you brainwash somebody? And I didn't want to be brainwashed because I don't really know how that would feel. So I was trying to be brave inside and vulnerable on the outside with my hidden camera and figure out what was going on. And I was getting all this video. And at one point, I can tell you that I was thinking, this is going to be so good. What should I wear to the Emmys? And it was just about that time that I felt this tap on my shoulder. And a guy came up to me and said, "What's that in your purse?" Just like that.
Oh my God.
I know. So I know, not good. And so, a cult church. So I remember that my mom had always taught me that the best defense was a good offense. So I said, "Why are you asking me that? You're making me very uncomfortable. Am I going to have to report you?" And inside I'm thinking, report him to who? I don't even know who this is. I don't even know who's in charge of this thing. And I was just total bluff. And he goes, "Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. I'm sorry." And he just backed off, and I just skedaddled out of there. That was the end of that. But we did win an Emmy for that. And that cult church is no more. But trust me, you do not want to get caught carrying a hidden camera. It is not fun.
Oh my God, Hank, I'm sweating, and not because of the weather. That is terrifying. You're amazing. You are amazing. You are amazing. Oh, perfect. So Judy is asking to hear also about the time you got caught. And actually, that's my friend Judy. And interestingly, her husband is actually a murder list attorney.
Oh,
And so I, of course, was recommending your book, The Murder List, to her, which was such a fascinating, fabulous book, a meditation on justice, I thought.
well, it is. You know, my husband is on the murder list too.
Oh my gosh. So it really was a kind of a real
I
story.
got the inside scoop on that. But, you know, that is also a, you know, fast-paced, page-turning, psychological suspense thriller that I hope will knock your socks off. I get emails from people saying they read The Murder List and then they started at the beginning again to see how I did it. And that's, you know, that is a joy for a suspense author, is to have a savvy audience, savvy readers like mine are, really fooled about it. But that was the thing, you know, the underlying, you know, the thing about The First to Lie is empowerment, and the thing about The Murder List is kind of justice. What do we mean by truth? And it's all about who tells a better story in a murder trial, and that the truth is probably somewhere in between that. So what one person's truth is different from another person's truth, and the true truth is probably somewhere in between that. And I sort of tuck all that thoughtful stuff in with the page turning action. So very nice to, hi Judy, nice to tell your husband I said hi, and I hope he reads The Murder List. He will, I'm seeing if I have a copy of it here somewhere. I hope he enjoys it.
Yeah, I did feel like it was a brain massage as well. I mean, I flew through the pages because I had to know what happened, but it was such a thought provoking,
well, you know,
almost uncomfortable, because you realize it's not always just about justice, so even what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you so much, and I wanted people who, you know, we all sort of jump to conclusions about who's guilty and who's not guilty, and in a murder trial, being on a jury, or any kind of a trial, being on a jury, what a huge responsibility that is, when you realize that our assumptions and our thoughts and our instant decision making isn't how you want to be on a jury. You know, and so I when people say to me, "Oh, I'm trying to get out of jury duty," I say, "Why?" You know, we need smart, thoughtful people on juries. This is how our system is supposed to work. And if you, smart person, try to get out of it, who will be left? You know, who will be left to defend and stand up for the little guy? And also, on the other hand, bring law and order to our society. So that's what the murder list is about. And also, who will be next on the murder list? I'm seeing if I have a copy of it somewhere. You would think, hold on. I have the brand new, just released Mass Market Max paperback.
They use the same cover. Gorgeous.
You can see the book. You can see my face almost matches this. It's better.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're getting some questions from the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, I will get right to you. But first, Hank, I want to know, what are those 5 things to tell us about the murder list?
Funny,
to tell us about The First to Lie.
There's this thing on social media that says, tell us about your book in 4 words. You've seen that. So my 4 words are betrayal, motherhood, obsession, and revenge. Ooh. So then there's another thing, that this is sort of the first to lie by the numbers. There's another thing on social media, which is, tell us about your book in 5 phrases. So I thought, okay, 5 phrases for the first to lie. And that is a devastating childhood betrayal, an undercover reporter who's in too deep, a beautiful sailboat on the Chesapeake Bay, a rich and powerful family, and an ice pick that is not used for ice. And those are 5 things about the first to lie.
Okay, do not walk, run to your nearest indie bookstore, or use our special partnership with bookshop.org, which my partner in crime, Margaret, is posting the link to in the comments, because I am dying to read that book. Oh my God, I can't even wait until tomorrow. So we're getting so many questions. So where shall I even start? So Catherine would like to know, what's on your to be read list?
Oh my gosh, on my to be read list. You know what? It's so interesting, because every time I do a book event and somebody asks me this question, which is a perfectly good question, I completely fry. And every time I get it, you know, I'll say to my husband, next time I'm going to have a really good answer for that. But, you know, I'm looking at the new Sherry LaPena book, Catherine House, a new book called Catherine House, which is wonderful. Rachel Housel Hall's book I love, and Now She's Gone is a terrific book. Kylie Reed's Such a Fun Age, I thought was absolutely fabulous. I can't wait for Caroline Levitt's new book, which also comes out tomorrow, which I'm so very thrilled about. So, you know, I am in the midst, and I will tell you because it's just us, of trying to write my next book. And I am pretty behind. And so most of the time I spend now worrying about or rejoicing, depending on the day, in writing that book. But I do have a pretty wonderful TBR. I'd love to know what's on yours. All the people who are on Facebook now, tell us what's on your TBR pile, and we can share all the books that we're so looking forward to. I know the minute this is over, I'm going to think, oh, I should have said this. Oh, I should have said this. Oh, I should have said this. And I'll put it all in the comments later.
Yeah, totally. And I know your friend Lisa Scatolini's daughter, The Ghost of Harvard, just came out with her first book, Francesca.
Sarah is amazing. I mean, a wonderful, brilliant. I mean, what a family for Lisa Scatolini, who was really one of my first mentors and supporters. I honestly would not be sitting here talking to you if not for Lisa Scatolini. Oh. Truly. And we all have those people in our careers. You can see behind me, there are 2 framed letters on my shelves. I don't know, one is from Robert B. Parker, loving one of my books and wishing me well. And the one on the upper shelf is from Sue Grafton, who also was a wonderful supporter and a dear friend. And that's the thing about A Mighty Blaze also, is that this is what we do for each other. You know, we support each other and set each other on fire in the best kinds of ways. So, and then Francesca, when I met Francesca at a book party with Lisa Scatolini, and she's just instantly wonderful. So yes, The Ghost of Harvard, fabulous. You know, truly wish her well. Well, she's a star anyway. She's a rock star. They both are.
Yeah, and actually, and Hank, you're known in the industry as a woman who truly, truly empowers and supports other women, who uplifts other women, who supports other women, and that reputation is so well deserved. And I know that you've spoken glowingly of Lisa Scatolini for also being a woman who supports other women. Yes. And I think you both do that so beautifully and so powerfully and so well. So thank you for all of that goodness that you beam into the world. Marcia would like to know, have you ever served on a jury, Hank?
Yes, I have served on a jury, and I was really surprised by that, because when I was called for jury duty, I was so excited because I thought, oh, I really want to do this, you know, because I'm going to be the good guy. But I thought, they'll never pick me. You know, I'm a reporter, and my husband is a criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney. They're never going to pick me. And they did pick me. And so I thought, okay, this is great. And it was, and if I can tell you, it was really a fascinating experience, because it was the prosecutor's first case, and it was the defense attorney's first case. And so we had these 2 guys who were just so new, and they were just obviously so new. And the way they presented the case, when we got to the jury room, people were talking about what the results should be and what the verdict should be as we talked about the case. And I said, you know, this verdict that you're coming up with, this just can't be right. There's just got to be some rule that says that what you're doing can't be right. And I said, I'm not gonna vote with you, because I think something has been left out. Can we just go ask the judge, is there something that the judge forgot to tell us? And it turned out there was something that the judge forgot to tell us. And when she did, the verdict got changed. And so it came out to be what I had thought would be the right thing. I mean, so that's why smart people, forgive me, but on the jury, who are asking questions and who really care about justice and who are putting together, I don't know, common sense with the law, sometimes it's very difficult to do. And so I just applaud anyone who agrees to be on a jury. That is how the system works, and everyone relies on it. Everyone, every element of society in the justice system relies on you doing your part.
Yes, exactly. So well said. So well said. We had another question. We have so many questions. I'm going to try to get to as many as we can here, everybody. What do you hope that people will take? And I think you touched on this before, but what do you hope that people will take from the First to Lie?
Yeah, and I love that question, because one of the things that happens in the First to Lie is people take different things from it. Some people have told me that they take a new understanding of journalism from it. Some people have told me they take a new understanding of the justice system from it. Some people have told me they take a new understanding of friendship. At the core of The First to Lie truly not only is that relationship that I was saying with big pharma and medicine and doctors and pharmaceutical reps who I talked to at great length about this, because some of the main characters in the book are pharmaceutical sales reps. That's one part of it, but the other part is really mother-daughter relationships and how we deal with our mothers and how our mothers deal with us, and the desire to have children and what can get in the way of that, and how some women sort of figure out their worth based on whether they can have children. And what about that? You know, let's think about that a little bit, and how you know, the yearning to have children, how important that is for some women, and how we should embrace that. I mean, all those kinds of questions, all wrapped up. What I really want you to think at the end of The First to Lie is, ooh, I hope Hank is writing fast because I want the next book. That's exactly what I want. But what I try to do in my novels is the same thing that I try to do in my television investigative reporting. You know, I take something that's a complicated story and make it fast-paced, entertaining, enlightening, educational, enriching, and in the end, I want justice and I want to change the world a little bit. And that's exactly what I do in my novels and what I do in investigative reporting. You know, I want to tell you a good story. The best thing that you can say to a journalist is, wow, what a good story that was. What a good story. And isn't that the same thing that we tell to, when we say at the end of a book, we say, oh, what a good story that was. So after 43 years as a reporter, you know, I could not be a novelist now. I mean, I didn't start writing till I was 55, 15 years ago. Ugh. I didn't start writing till I was 55, but I wouldn't have been able to write my novels the way I do without all those years of experience at, frankly, telling a story with a beginning, middle, and an end, you know, a character who you care about and an important problem that needs to be solved. When the good guys win and the bad guys get what's coming to them. And in the end, the world works again the way it should work. And that's what I go for in journalism, and that's what I go for in my novels. You know, in my books, there's no graphic sex, there's no graphic violence, there's no inappropriate language, just like there isn't in journalism, right? But there is gaslighting and mind-blowing game-playing manipulation and suspense and deception and a little bit of murder. That's what my books are like. I mean, they say to write the kind of book you love to read. And that's exactly what I'm doing. They say that if you do that, if you write the kind of book you love to read, then that passion will come through on the page and your readers will feel that and love the book as well.
And Hank, you do that so well. There's such an incredible authenticity and warmth and honesty. And I don't know how the energy comes through on a page, you know, an inanimate object, but it does. It feels like you. And even though you feel scared and you have kept me up till 3 a.m. more nights than I care to admit, but there is a deftness to your storytelling. You feel that you're in safe and knowing hands. And there's an authenticity, a deep authenticity and a warmth and a realness that I absolutely love. So anytime there's a Hank book sitting on my table waiting for me to just dive in, I'm so excited because I love to be in your world, in your pages that you create. And that energy comes through. So thank you for all that you do. We have 2 more questions I definitely want to get to. So someone is saying that they love your covers. Another has a question about your title. So let's talk. Alicia would like to know, before you start writing a book, do you know the title that your book is going to have, or how do you find the title? Someone else says they love your covers. Tell us the stories. I always want to know about the covers and the titles.
Well, this is so interesting because the reason that The First to Lie is called The First to Lie is because of something that happened in the murder list. So let me tell you that in a minute. But first, the covers. What happens when you get a cover is my editor will email me and say, we're going for a cover concept. What kind of, do you want a person? Do you want a building? Do you want, you know, sort of conceptual cover? What would you like? And so what I love about the murder list is you see how in your face she is. I mean, yes. That is a woman who's staring right at you. She has some motivation and something that she wants. And that's what, but you see also that she's a little damaged. She's beautiful, but a little damaged.
Yeah. And it did feel like she was staring into my soul.
And you don't see that very much on a cover. If you look at book covers, when there are women, they're often looking over their shoulder, or you see a body part of some kind. But someone who's staring you right in the face, you know, aggressively and conscientiously and confidently, you don't really see that. And so I love that about that. And then the first to lie, what I love about this, and this is all the Forge art department. This is Forge Publishing art department. You see how like a Mondrian painting this is?
Yes. And I love Mondrian.
Yes. And that's what I loved about this, how hard-edged and tough, and you know, there's conflict in this, and there's conflict in the colors, and there's conflict in the windows. And it turns out the two of the characters live in the same apartment building. But who is the first to lie? So what happens when you get the cover is you get an email. I get an email from my editor, and the subject line will say, your cover. And then it has an exclamation mark. So that's how you're supposed to be happy. You know, it's not like your cover with a frowny face. It's like, oh, it's, you know, this is your cover. So it's leading you to be happy. And then you open the email, and then you click on the JPEG, because, you know, in the next minute, you're going to be really happy or really angry, right? So you just click and pray. And then up came the murder list, and up came the first to lie. And I thought, yes, these are perfect. And there's nothing better than getting a wonderful cover. As for the title, I was telling you that they were connected. In the first to lie, no, in the murder list, one of the characters says to a police officer, asks the question of the police officer, what's going to happen? And the police officer says, well, you know, the first to talk is the first to walk. You know, it's a typical cop saying, what means the first person to rat out the other guy will get the lighter sentence. And my character in the murder list said, yeah, but what about the first to lie? And I thought, as I wrote it, I thought, oh, yeah, what about the first to lie? That's pretty interesting. And I actually thought as I was writing that, I mean, I wrote it, but my character said it. And it was one of those moments that we were talking about earlier that I felt almost as if I had no control over the character. She just said this. And the minute she said it, I know I said it, but the minute she said it, I thought, that's the title of my next book. And so I said to my editor, how about the title, The First to Lie? And my editor says, great, I love it. What's it about? And I'm like, I don't know. So I had the title before I had the cover. I had the title before I had one word of the book. Can you believe that?
No.
Turned out fine.
Wow. And was that the first time that has ever happened to you in your extremely prolific career? Does it usually come, where does it usually come in the process?
Well, the murder list was sort of the same thing. I told you my husband is on the murder list, and you were saying Judy's husband is on the murder list, which is the list of criminal defense attorneys in Massachusetts that are experienced and qualified enough to be able to take assigned cases of murder defendants who are indigent, who can't pay for a lawyer, because everybody deserves the best lawyer, whether they can pay for it or not. And so in Massachusetts has the murder list, which is the list of these lawyers who will take the cases. You can see my hair getting crazy. It's like humid in here.
No, not at all.
So we can just watch my hair get curled. I'm seeing it on the screen. I know you're thinking, why is she?
No, I think you just look gorgeous.
I said to my editor, I want to do a television show called The Murder List, which every week would be a new indigent murder defendant and the lawyer who is assigned to take this case and what happens next. And then, but the real story would be about the person who assigns the cases to the murderless lawyers, because think how much power that person would have. And wouldn't that mean they could give you a case that you could win if they wanted to help your career, or they could give you a case that they thought was a loser if they wanted to hurt your career. So I thought this was a really good thing. And she goes, my editor says, yeah, that's great. You talk to the TV people, but I want a book called The Murder List. So I thought, okay. And that's where The Murder List came from.
That is fascinating. I didn't even know there was such a thing. I've known Judy and Rob for probably 15 years, and I knew he was a lawyer, but I was telling them about your book. And then Rob said, oh, I'm on The Murder List. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't know it was a thing. It's amazing. And they also have power over the case, because I'm sure they know that there's a range of lawyers. So do you give it to the guy it's his first case, and maybe that person, I mean, I wouldn't want to be with a lawyer it's his first case.
But I mean, that's the thing. This is because this is a life and death situation, because a murder case is the highest of stakes. These are all very experienced lawyers, all of whom have handled many murder cases. So
okay.
That's exactly, you've hit on exactly the point, is that you don't want to give a novice lawyer this really the highest of high stakes case. And that's why there's this roster of lawyers, qualified, experienced lawyers, to make sure that people who are accused of murder get the best possible representation, even if they can't afford it. That's just how to make the system fair.
Okay. And that does make sense, because Rob is extremely experienced. They're saying thank you so much or just saying thank you for answering her question. Catherine would like to know, do you give your editor a synopsis before you begin writing, or do you just write it and see what happens? So basically, are you a plotter or a pantser, Hank? You've talked about faith, you've talked about science from the universe. Does this mean you're a pantser?
If there is not a day that goes by that I don't say, next book, I'm going to make an outline. Next book, I'm going to be a grown-up and make an outline. I swear I will. And then I just can't do it. I just can't make an outline. I'm a complete pantser. I don't know what I'm going to write until the next line and the next paragraph and the next scene. I have no idea. And that's what actually gets me to the computer every day, is I think, I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see what happens. And the only way I'm going to find out what happens is if I write it myself. So so people say, wow, the twists in the murder list, the twist in the first to lie, the ending of the murder list, the ending of the first to lie. Wow, you really surprised me. I'm like, yeah, wasn't that a surprise? Because talk about a surprise ending. I surprise myself every time. So so this is real writer faith, I have to say, I know it's not like I don't have any idea, because I know what a story is. I know
right.
what the flow of a story has to be. And here's the part that has to be contemplative. And here's the part that has to be really, really fast. And here's the part that has to be extraordinarily suspenseful. And, it has to, the action, the conflict that's driving the story, there has to be always something happening, always something happening. So it's not like I'm starting with zero, but if I'm lucky, the story takes on a feeling of its own, and the characters take on a agency of their own and an intent. And I just, I was at an interview with Lee Child and Stephen King, if you can imagine, talking about the pantheon.
Wow.
And they were interviewing each other, and they each said that when they're lucky, they feel that there's a time in their books where they are honestly not thinking about it, that the story is just coming through them and out their fingers. And neither of them knew that the other was going to say it. And whoever said it first, the other one was sitting there just nodding like crazy. Me too, me too, me too. And that is what, when I'm lucky, happens to me when I'm writing. The story takes off. And there is a moment, the first half of the book is like climbing this horrible mountain, word by word by word. And then at some point, knock on wood, something happens, and I see what the book I meant to write is going to be. And that's what I hope, that's what gets me to the computer every day as well. Will this be the day that the book comes to life? And I just have sort of writer faith that it will.
Oh.
I forgot what the question even was.
I feel like you are taking me to church. This is such a heart-filling conversation. I love it.
When someone says, can you write a synopsis? And I have said to my editor, I can't write a synopsis because how do I know what's going to happen until it happens? And it doesn't happen until it's in the book, because I don't know. I can't make it up in advance, just like we can't make up our lives in advance. I can't make up this book in advance. And it's like when I'm in search of a story as a reporter, I go out in search of the story. I don't know what the end of that story is going to be. If I knew, it wouldn't be news, right? If I knew, it wouldn't be an investigation. I'm out there finding it out. And so that's what I'm doing when I'm writing my books too. I'm out there digging up the story to try to see what story I have.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh, I mean, it's such an interesting meditation on faith. Does it ever, I have to know, because I'm also a pantser and I swear to God, I'm only on book 2, but I swear every time I'm like, next time I'll be an adult and write an outline. And here I am, poor jerk, still, bumbling my way through. So does your faith-led writing ever lead you down a dead end and you got to back it up and rewrite?
Well, the faith in writing is the faith in the process, and that's what my faith is in, that the writing process will work. And the writing process encompasses changes, and it encompasses backfilling, and it encompasses figuring out something on page 174 and realizing that on page 27 you better change something. And hooray, the faith in the process note is that when I get a note from my editor when I've sent in my first draft saying, as truly happened in the murder list, she wrote back saying, chapter 33 is the best jury deliberation scene I have ever read in my entire life, and it all has to go.
Oh.
And I said, great, because if something interferes with the forward motion of my book, if something interferes with the pacing, no matter how good it is, it has to go. So they talk about killing your darlings. I'm like, those aren't my darlings. That's the glue, that's the quicksand that's going to drag my book down. I don't want those words. So I'm like, yeah, cut. I don't, delete. I'm happy to delete. I'm happy to change. I'm happy to revamp. There are parts in the first to lie that were absolutely not in the first 2 drafts. Absolutely not in there. And my editor said, let's see the part where this happens. And I thought, okay, I can put that in, and here we go. And those, so you have to, I'm going to regret saying this, but you have to revel in when someone says, I loved your book so much. Can you change a whole bunch of stuff? You say, well, sure, I'm a writer. Sure, I can change whatever you want. Sure, I'm a writer. That's what we do. We write, and we can write whatever you want. And it's not only whatever you want, but whatever a smart, knowledgeable person thinks works. Give me that. I want that in my books. So, one of the things I learned early on is that, and I know this sounds crazy, but somebody else might have a good idea. Imagine that. And if it helps my book, then I embrace that.
Oh, Hank, I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh. I want to welcome Lisa Barr, our fellow author, saying hi. Kristen Bear. Sylvia is saying hello from Omaha in the house. Welcome, Omaha. Diane would like to know, do you have snacks while you write, or do you have a favorite drink? What's that look like while you're writing?
I'm so unglamorous. I'm big on almonds. I eat a lot of almonds and Diet Pepsi. And is that boring? That's what it is. Almonds and Diet Pepsi. And sometimes on a splurge, I'll have a sliced apple and a cheese stick. It's not, I don't eat chocolate or any kind of cookies. I'm afraid that exactly what your mom told you ought to have is what I have.
Well, almonds are brain food. So I think this is making sense.
A lot of lattes too. My husband during the pandemic has learned how to make lattes. And I'm like, yes, I will. This is my favorite thing. So if I could have a latte and almonds, I'm really happy.
Okay, a latte and almonds. This is so good to know. Judy would like to know, do you think years of journalistic writing helps your writing with your pantsed style?
Of course. Judy, yes, of course. I think that's so wise and absolutely so, because I know there's a story in there somewhere, and I know I'm looking for that story. I also know that in journalism, you have to take a lot of complicated things and make them simple and entertaining as hell and educational and wonderful and fabulous. And that's what I do in writing my books as well, is I just take the jewels and weave them together. And so I do that in journalism as well.
Ooh, and you do such a good job of cutting it right down to the bone. And despite your editor saying that the best jury deliberation scene she'd ever read had to be removed from chapter 33, you still have some really tense scenes in there. The guy who wants to get back to work, he doesn't want to start again, bringing in the altar. It's all so stressful. I mean, you're just sweating.
And you see in those scenes that the rules of justice and the rules of deliberation and the rules of how a trial is supposed to be is still based on our humanity, and it is still based on our personal human needs and desires. And so that's exactly the point, thank you, is how does that affect justice? And exactly the same thing in The First to Lie. What are the reasons somebody might be going after a story? And what happens when a journalist may make a personal decision rather than the journalistically ethical decision, when they go after what they want rather than what they should do? How does that work? And then what happens to the story? And what happens to truth in that case?
Yes. Oh, you're right. It's about humanity. And again, you do such a powerful, almost painful job of bringing that humanity to the forefront, because of course you want to get out of jury duty and back to work. Of course you don't want to be stuck there for another week while they bring in someone to have to bring them up to speed.
First to Lie, it's, we're talking about medicine, and we're talking about big pharma, and we're talking about the decisions that each person makes. But big pharma is not what the story is. It's about each individual woman. What matters in each individual person's life. And so I write about the people and their hopes and fears and dreams and desires and wants, and what happens when those desires become so strong that they turn into obsession and the need for revenge. So it's two strong women facing off in this cat and mouse game, but which one is the cat and which one is the mouse? It just depends on how you look at it.
Oh, that is fascinating, Hank. I am so excited to read this. Carol would like to know, do you tell your husband about your books as you're writing them, or does he have to wait to read them when you're done? Carol, sounds like you know a thing or two about marriage.
A little of each. My husband hears every day sort of, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And he says, you say that every time. And then I say, well, this might be the time I'm right. And he says, you say that every time too. So there's that. And then, and then also, because he's a lawyer, and every one of my books, The Murder List and The First to Lie and The Other Woman, every one of my psychological standalones has a lot of legalities in it. So since he's a lawyer, he's my in-house counsel. So I'll also go to him and say, what would be the law here? What would be the rule here? Could this really happen? What would a judge say? What would a court bailiff say? What would a lawyer do? How would a lawyer tell a client to behave? And he's also handled a lot of pharmaceutical fraud kinds of class action cases. And so that goes into this as well.
Oh, fascinating.
Tess Gerritsen. I do a lot of research. I did a lot of research in the pharmaceutical world for this book, but then I filled my head with all of it, with the laws and the rules and the techniques and the technicalities and the system and the breaching of the system and how drugs are supposed to be prescribed and how they can't be, but how they can be. I filled my brain with that. And then I just put that away. I just tucked it all away and wrote the story about the people. That is what's important to me. So Tess Gerritsen said it best. She said, you can always tell when an author's research slip is showing, that their research slip is showing, because they're like, I looked up medieval armor and I'm going to, by golly, put that into the book. And you tell that. So I don't want you to think, wow, Hank did a lot of research into this. I want you to think, wow, this is very authentic. This is really realistic. And I've heard from a lot of people in the pharmaceutical industry on all elements of it, that I really nailed it. But that's not what I want you to notice necessarily. I want you to notice the emotions and the actions and the gaslighting that takes place of the people involved in the story.
Oh my gosh. Well, Hank, Phillippi, Ryan, you are incredible. I cannot wait to read this. Just this expose of medicine, power, women, choices, big pharma, deception. Wow, I'm so excited. I know everyone here who has joined us is also excited. We will be buying this book. Again, we have an incredible partnership with bookshop.org supporting independent bookstores. Margaret, my partner in crime, is posting the links. We cannot wait to do this. And I wanted to let you know that I will be doing a giveaway on my social media of Hank's book. So please, hang out, and I will be giving copies away as well, because I can't wait to read it, and I cannot wait until I give copies to people and they can read it with me. So everybody go buy it. And if times are tough, come follow me, and I'll be giving away copies as well. No problem. We're so excited. You are incredible. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to all of our incredible audience members. We are so thrilled.
Let me just say to you, thank you. And I want you all to stay safe and be careful. And I'm so grateful that we can be together in this really stupid, ridiculous, crazy time. These are the things that fill our souls. And I'm so delighted to be part of A Mighty Blaze. You all are so powerful and so fabulous. I hope you'll all find me on Facebook. All find me on Instagram at Hank P. Ryan, and Twitter. Come to my website and sign up for my newsletter, because lots of giveaways and lots of inside fun stuff. So
yes. And Margaret has posted links to your website, to your Twitter, to your Instagram, to your Facebook. We will all be following you on all of the platforms. We will be signing up for that newsletter because we want to be the first to know about the first to lie and everything else. Hank, Phillippi, Ryan, you are absolutely incredible. Everybody follow her, buy her book. She's amazing. And we cannot wait to dive in. Thank you, everybody. And Hank, congratulations on this incredible accomplishment. Again, Publishers Weekly Star Review and Pick of the Week. You are incredible. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good night.